Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket from Rev TV. You'll get every game every Sunday afternoon from around the league. Plus, NFL Sunday Ticket gives you up to 8 live games on one screen with Game Mix. You'll get that died and woke up in football heaven experience when you upgrade to NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, including Red Zone, the channel dedicated to every scoring play from every game. And if you add Rev TV HD to NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, you'll be entered to win big weekly prizes with NFL Wildcard Mania. Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket.
Could Bahamians be allowed to gamble in casinos? The tourism minister says yes. A cabinet minister slams Dr. Andre Rollins and calls him politically misguided. Plus, the Prime Minister tours Camp Grantana Resort. We've got those stories and a whole lot more coming up tonight. I'm Bonnie Toot and NV12 starts now. Topping news tonight, despite assertions that the new gaming bill still discriminates against Bahamians, Tourism Minister Obi Wilchcombe says there is a possibility Bahamians will be allowed to gamble in casinos while foreigners would be able to patronize web shops. Wilchcombe says the bill contains a provision that would allow the minister responsible for gaming to override those discriminatory elements.
The minister can, with the passage of regulations, calls for Bahamians as well as for permanent residents to visit casinos and play in casinos, and also calls for tourists to be able to go into the web shops.
Wilchcombe says there is absolutely nothing discriminatory about the revised gaming bill, insisting it could pave the way for the minister responsible for gaming to lift the current ban on Bahamians gambling in casinos. He pointed to Section 69, subsection 6 of the bill, which states the minister may make regulations permitting participation in the types of gaming contemplated by any category or all categories of persons. Wilchcombe says it was worded that way because it covers so many people. He added that the government hopes to address the controversial issue as soon as possible, but it's a gradual process.
The government has to give consideration to it. A lot of preparation is required for that, because as we're preparing for web shops, so much preparation is required for that. So that next step, we have to determine when that's going to be. That's not been determined yet. But now it's easy to do, because once the bill is passed, you don't have to come and do it again.
So we talking near future next step, or eventually years from now next step?
As soon as possible next step.
However, he suggested that government must do its homework to ensure it doesn't destroy web shop operations by pitting them against casinos.
Let's think that in the Bahamas you change the game overnight and Bahamians can go to the casino. What happens to the internet gaming? Does it die overnight? So we have to do more research, more work has to be done to ensure that there's sustainability, because the worst thing to do is cause for some economic empowerment of some Bahamians legally and then destroy it overnight.
When asked if he feels the bill gives the minister responsible for gaming too much power as it relates to gaming in the Bahamas, Wilchcombe said,
Ministers always have power, but the minister is the government. The minister can't go and pass a bill or bring regulations without going to the cabinet, because it has to be done by the Attorney General's office.
The tourism minister estimates the government could receive around $40 million from web shops in the first year of regularization and at least $25 million annually after that. Wilchcombe says they're still analyzing the numbers, but government will receive substantially more than its initial projection of $12 million in web shop revenue.
You can get more than $12 million. You can get more than $12 million. You're going to get I don't think that any given year you get less than $25 million. In the first year you'll get significantly more, certainly, because they're paying back penalty, and that's going to be significant. They're paying other fees. I think around $40 million, somewhere around the first year, but of course that could change, so I don't want you to hold me to that.
According to Section 85 of the bill, web shops will be required to pay business license fees in addition to gaming taxes for a period of 6 years. In some cases, Wilchcombe says, those businesses will also have to pay back taxes and hefty penalties that date back to 6 years.
6 years for those that have been in business for longer than 6 years, right. 5 years or more. And then for those who have been in business for less than that, will be $350,000 for the year that they've been The truth is we're trying to clean up what was not right and trying to fix it because it exists. And the truth is, what are you going to do? It does exist, and we allowed it to happen.
The fees will only apply to businesses that are invited to apply for a web shop license. According to the gaming bill, the businesses that are not invited to apply will have to cease operations once the regularization transition period ends. One day after Dr. Andre Rawlings compared the new gaming bill to South African apartheid, a cabinet minister says the former gaming board chairman appears to be politically misguided. Agriculture Minister V. Alfred Gray told NB12 today that Rawlings needs to be a team player or leave. Kyle Walking reports.
Gray says he completely respects people who are opinionated and are able to speak their mind freely. However, he feels 4th Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rawlings has got the game of politics backwards. Rawlings once again blasted legislation put forth by his own party comparing the new gaming bill to South African apartheid. Gray says while he doesn't know the motives behind Rawlings' statements, if he and other new generation MPs plan on staying within the Progressive Liberal Party, they must first learn the art of fellowship.
I personally believe when you openly, publicly criticize the leadership and your organization, you should think whether you want to be there. Because I just don't believe that the two would be futuristically synonymous. Because if the Prime Minister appoints you, as he appoints me, and I do not believe in his leadership, I ought to take the honorable way out and then criticize. It's never responsible to criticize, cuss out, and think it's okay. It's not okay. You're free to do it, but there's a consequence.
Rawlings said the new gaming bill invites corruption and breeds discrimination. This nearly 2 weeks after being fired as chairman of the gaming board for bashing the Prime Minister. Well, Gray says Rawlings caused it all on himself and should have never waited to be fired.
If I openly disagree with the Prime Minister on any matter, I must know when I do that, I must, following that same statement, say I tender my resignation. That's the right thing to do. Because if he is the Prime Minister, he is the leader of our country, the leader of the party that I belong to. I have problems with him or what he's doing. I have a right to criticize it, but I also have no right to criticize him and hoping to stay. I will have to resign from his cabinet. As a matter of fact, that's his cabinet. It's his government.
Gray says he doesn't know what will come of the political relationship between Christie and Rawlings, and he adds that it's up to them. But as for Rawlings' view on the bill, Gray says his argument is flawed.
Either you support the bill that is presently before you, or you do not support it based on what is in it. You can't say I'm not supporting it because it doesn't have what I want in it. That's a flawed argument. And I'm speaking as a lawyer perhaps, but if you go to anybody who is of the intelligentsia, will tell you either you support something for what it is, or you reject it for what it is.
Gray says despite his statements, Rawlings still has a future within the PLP. But he says as far as his nomination is concerned, that decision will lie solely with his constituents. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
And in other news, Prime Minister Perry Christie says government is not only focused on foreign direct investment, but also creating the right environment for Bahamian hoteliers. He visited Rose Island today and toured a small boutique hotel. Jasmine Brown reports.
Prime Minister and his colleagues toured the 12-room, $10 million facility this afternoon, insisting the boutique hotel is just what the country needs. Camp Grantana Special Projects Resort is located on Rose Island and is owned by businessman Thomas Baisden. The $10 million eco-friendly boutique hotel is set to open in mid-November. 45 years ago, Thomas Baisden incorporated the only Bahamian-owned elevator company, and when he retired, he decided to develop his Rose Island property.
At first, it was to build a cabana for my grandchildren. And when I started thinking about it, in order to build a cabana, what was I going to build? A little thatch hut? No. I had to build something substantial. And in order to build something substantial on Rose Island, I had to bring materials over. So I went to Florida, bought a barge, brought it over and started transporting materials from Nassau to this property. And as it evolved from questions in my mind. Well, what are you building here? A cabana for your grandchildren? How many times a year are they going to use it?
The developers consider themselves to be environmentally conscious and are targeting a family island feel. The property is self-sufficient with power and water, using solar energy and a rainwater and well system. Now, you won't be able to just rent a room at this resort, as they are targeting group sales.
Yeah, the thought came to my mind that church groups, religious groups needed places for their gathering from time to time. Political groups need places for their gatherings from time to time. So if I build a hotel and cater to that market, not the person who is going to come in with a suitcase and want a room for the night that I have to cater to. If I cater to the market where I can rent a property, 12 hotel rooms, all of the amenities, dock, helicopter pad.
Prime Minister Perry Christie said when he first heard about the project, he didn't give it much thought, but when he saw what Basin was doing, he knew he was setting an example and could be an inspiration to others. Now, Christie says the government must ensure this property is a successful model.
Not just that it was built, but that it's operated efficiently, effectively, and it has a return on it.
Meantime, Tourism Minister Obi Wilchcombe says the government will do all it can to incentivize Bahamians to get into the hotel business.
The truth is, we want to encourage Bahamians. We have to own our economy. You know, we have to remember now, we've been building our economy with the foreign direct investment, but there has to come a time when Bahamians reinvest in the country to create the sustainability and cause for growth.
Rose Island was previously targeted for a larger scale resort in 2008, but the development came to a halt when the financial crisis struck, and its primary financial backer, U.S. investment bank Lehman Brothers, collapsed. Basin is joining a very small fraternity of Bahamians who actually own resort properties. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
When NB12 returns, a local diving resort raises the alarm on oil spills. The details are on the other side of this break.